Hello herb lovers and welcome back to the channel. It's Tony here from Life, Love and Lettuce, and today we're going to start a bit of a makeover in the greenhouse. As you can see, I have scrubbed the plastic and all of the metal, but it may not look that brilliant, but we've got a bit of a overcast day today. The bees are still flying and the chickens are out having a good time, but it's not that bright. So it's a good day to be in here, continue to clean out the beds, get some things planted, and see how much we can get organised for the 2024 spring season. Come along, let's see what we're up to. As you can see, there is still plenty growing in this bed from winter, including a whole lot of weeds that we're going to sort our way through. And we have pretty much the same thing going on over here, a nasty pile of buttercup in the background there. That tall plant at the back here is a perpetual basil, which has been quite fascinating. I've just trimmed it back so that I could clean the plastic around it, but it is a really nice flavoured basil, so we have enjoyed a lot of good stuff off it, and it's really great for bringing pollinators into the hoop house in summer. It flowers prolifically and it's just full of bees and pollinators, so it's staying. But we have this part of the bed here to sort out. I have done some cleaning up of this bed here, cleared out and put some Peastraw down, and I've left a nice sweet pepper there that's overwintered. It looks a bit straggly at the moment, but in my experience they do come back fairly quickly, and I can see it's got a little red pepper down there. And my son has been in here and has seen a clear space, so has dropped a pot of flower seeds that he's growing, so we'll just be finding a new little spot for that as we begin the planting up of this bed. I've got some seedlings up the back here that we will be planting out, and we'll look at those in a few moments. Got a beetroot here that is well woody, but the chickens love the beetroot leaves, so it's staying, so it's lots of good chicken fodder. And what we're going to concentrate on now is getting this space cleared so that we can have it nice and pea-strawed and see what we're dealing with. It often feels like a long way down when I first start weeding for the season. But anyway, now I'm down here, there's plenty to be getting rid of. A lot of wheat comes into the garden from the chickens. It's nice long grass and I have pulled quite a bit of it, and I go and I feed it back to them and they do quite like it, so that's good. But I like to often leave the weeds as ground cover while the land is likely fallow. Oh, and you'll see now as I leave the door open that the tiny little feathered T-Rexes will pop in now that I've left. They are here eating the beet leaves, which they love, and they'll also try and get in here to hunt out the small skinks that make the warmth of the hoop house their home. You can often find them in the mornings pecking against the plastic, chasing them around the edges. So as I was saying, I like to leave the greens down pretty much as a ground cover. I've been away. They're easy to pull up, and I don't really worry about them so much. It's only when I'm looking at planting and the garden's been neglected for as long as it has at the moment that I'm concerned about what's growing. Usually I plant so tightly together that there's not a lot of space for the weeds to get through or germinate anyway. Unfortunately, with the homemade compost that we have a high seed bank in that compost because I can't get the compost hot enough to kill the seeds. So my only way of dealing with that is to cover the soil as much as I can to make sure that they don't see that much sunlight and they don't germinate. So that's the other reason for leaving a lot of the weeds in place while I'm not planting other things. And here they are again, those little raptors. By the time I'd finished with the weeding in here, that poor beetroot was a shade of its former self. And you'll just see in the corner here, coming from the left-hand side of your screen, the aracunas coming along to see what their feathered sisters are up to. the Aracunas have been the original chickens that I got first. We lost 2 of them, so we replaced the 2 that we lost with these Cochins, and we've absolutely fallen in love with the Cochins. It took the 4 of them a little while to get to grips and the hang of living with each other, but they appear to have sorted themselves out and everybody's quite happy now. Now the next stage I do in my gardening is to loosen the soil. I'm not actually turning it over because I prefer a no-dig garden as much as possible, but I'm also not afraid to stand on the garden beds. So after a long winter, which has been wet, which this winter has been particularly wet, so there has been quite a bit of water through the hoop house, even though in summer we do have to do some manual watering in here. But this is just loosening the soil. I'm not actually turning it, I'm just breaking the surface with the fork. As you can see, there's the Aracunas again, sorry, there's a Cochins again waiting to get in. They're following me off to the compost heap, and they're hysterical when I'm in the compost heap, so if you hang around, there are some shots of them in the compost heap with me later on in the video. But for now that I've aerated the soil or just broken the surface of it, I'm spreading a little bit of homemade compost around. We have a big 2-bay compost bin, so this is the this is basically weeds, the weeds from last year. So we just fill the bed up, we take the compost out of the side that we're working in, and once the compost has all been taken from that side, then we start filling it up again. So we'll be beginning very soon on the side of the bed where this compost has come from once we've gotten rid of it all. Then, because I'm on a very hard clay base, and there's a lot of clay in our soil, and we've had a lot of water through here, and as you'll recall, there was that buttercup up in that corner. I am sweetening the soil with a little bit of lime, not much, just a touch, and what I'll do then is just rake that into the top surface of that compost that I've just laid, and then we will cover the whole prepared area up with Peastraw, because once I have gone to the trouble of doing all of this weeding, if there are weed seeds in the compost which I've brought in, which I'm guaranteed that there will be, if nothing else, there is 1,000 tomato seeds in there, then I don't want those seeds to be germinating. So if I can deprive them of light by making sure that the soil is covered, then they're not going to germinate. And here we go. And honestly, how much trouble can one person have with a watering can? Well, you're about to find out. The object here is just to now give the compost and the lime a good watering before we want to put the Peastraw on top. So I go and I get myself a nice watering can full of water, but it won't go. And why won't it go? I discover because there is a snail that has decided it's going to make its home inside the top of the watering can. So I think, well, that's fine, I'll just push it down with a stick, and no, it comes obviously to the edge again. So we chuck it out, we find it, we put it outside for the girls who, when they hear a snail cracking, and please forgive me for cracking a snail, but when they hear a snail cracking, they're out here like little robber's dogs again after the snail. So at least nothing goes to waste, because the snail is now being a tasty snack for the Cochins. And here we are, tucking the soil neatly into bed now with a layer of Peastraw. I have a small garden area, so I've had 3 bales of Peastraw delivered this spring, and a large, one bale is scattered around the garden at the moment, soaking up some of the wet that we've had, and the other 2 are unfortunately still sitting at the front door, waiting for me to bring them around the back and get them on the garden beds. But if you're following along at all, you'll know that we're doing some complete reorganisation of the garden beds out the back. So it could be a little while before the Peastraw makes it around the back to be put on the new garden beds once they're in position. The sun is beating in here now. It is getting really warm, but largely that is my process for prepping the beds. I will not be doing the bed on this side because it is far too freaking hot at the moment, but we will have a look at the seedlings that I've got and what I'm going to plant in the bed that I prepped earlier so that we can actually start to get some growing happening in this space. And just to prove to you that I'm not telling fibs, here is the current temperature at 2:20 in the afternoon. So I'm just on my way inside to put on some shorts so I do not drop dead of heat exposure outside. But before I go, here are the seedlings we are going to be planting. We have got some rocket, quick growing crops that I want in here before I think about putting tomatoes in later in the season. We have got some Italian parsley because as far as I'm concerned you can never have enough Italian parsley. I don't like the curly stuff, but I might grow a bit, but Italian is always my favourite. And just to finish up with, we have got some quick growing lettuces which will complement the lettuces I've got going outside. So we're going to have to move this, and I haven't worked out where yet, possibly down here or maybe over here with the chicken greens, although I don't think my son will appreciate me putting it over there with weed seeds, so maybe down here by the violet. It's so hot I can't even think. And you may be wondering why I haven't cleared so much out of this bed, but there are things in here that are growing well, and I like to leave things that are growing and just plant around them. So we've got some chives in the back there that are growing really well, some spring onions down here, fennel. I always have fennel going because the birds eat it, like the chickens just eat acres of it. I found those peas just going for it by themselves so they can stay. That is a capsicum that is wintered over and is coming away again. We've got some chard or silver beet, whatever you prefer to call it, in the back here. Some nice celery going down the front here, and that's another celery over there under the basil. A little bit of what do you call it? Russian red. I'll think of it in a minute. Kale, of course, and that's about it really for here. But if you're interested as to why I've got violets growing in here, and I can tell you the entire hoop house smells amazing, I'll leave a link to a little video I've done about why I've got violets growing. I'm not the only one who needs to cool down, it appears. So does the camera. So it's a glass of, or what's left of, a glass of homemade kombucha while we wait for everybody to cool down before we plant out. It is stonkingly hot in there. But anyway, we'll get this finished. We may not get the other side, well, I definitely won't get the other side done today, but we will certainly get this side planted out before we get to the end of this video. And then, of course, there's always some chicken TV for you at the end if you hang around. And who can possibly resist chicken TV? So after a change of trousers, here is that promised shot from the compost heap. You can see what I have to deal with every time we try to dig out the compost. So this is the end of the compost that we made last year. You can see how high the boards are in the working compost pit at the moment. Once we finish digging out this, we've got about 3 more boards to go, I would say. Then we will put the boards in the front and start topping up compost in this area, and then we will use the compost that is to the left of me next year. And you can't complain if this is the sort of compost that your rubbish makes, and this is why everybody should be making their own compost at home. And as I was walking past the Feijoa tree, I noticed a little bit of twine hanging out of the branches and went to investigate. And look what I found. A little tiny thrush nest. It's so great to see other birds making their garden their home. And with temperatures becoming more reasonable, we're back to planting out our plants. I like to plant quite close together. A lot of people think that's an issue, but as long as you feed your plants well, they will do well. These lettuces I'm expecting will last 4 to 6 weeks in the hoop house before the temperatures get too hot and they decide to run and bolt to seed. I'm going to treat them as pick and come again lettuces, so I will be picking the leaves from the outer side of the rosette, and they will be supplying us with the lettuces that are currently out in the garden with salads for at least the next month. What I will also be doing now to make sure that we've got lettuce going right through summer is starting to plant seeds every 2 to 3 weeks, and then I can make sure that I've got a good set of lettuces coming on all the time. Parsley, as I said, is one of the herbs that we use an awful lot. We enjoy it. We have a vase of it actually sitting on the bench in the kitchen to remind everybody that they need to pull sprigs and cut them up and put them in their meals during the day. Parsley is a great herb. It is full of vitamin K, which is wonderful for you for wound healing and blood clotting. It also helps to bind calcium in the bones to support bone health. It's great for detoxification. It's good for your digestion, which is why we use it a lot in food, obviously. It's a diuretic, and it can help to balance your blood sugar. Now, I love herbs and their properties to help support the body. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about parsley or other herbs, just leave a note down in the comments below, and I can look at putting some videos together for you. Rocket is another one of our favourites in this household at this time of the year. This will grow well until it gets too hot, and then it will try and bolt and go to seed as well. But we actually don't mind if rocket runs to seed, because it has wonderful 4-petaled flowers that my sons, when they were young, absolutely loved and used to say it tasted like peanut butter. I would find them often as youngsters down in the herb garden, standing in amongst all of the rocket flowers, picking them off and eating them while they were down in the garden, before they even managed to get back to the house to be thrown into our salads. Flowers are a wonderful addition to your salad, even if you may have people who accuse you of having them eat the flower arrangements. If you want to know more about flowers that are edible, I've got a video here, and also let me know and I can talk more about it in another video. And of course, the very last thing that you want to do when you've been planting seedlings is to water them in. We water them in because we want to make sure that we remove any air around the edges of the roots, and we make sure that the roots are connecting properly with the soil that we've just planted them into. Well, there you have it, team. It's been a busy and hot and productive day in the hoop house. I've still got one side to go, but that is not going to happen today. I'm a bit exhausted, so I'm going to go inside and have a think about what I want to plant in the rest of the side that I have cleared today. And we've got some things in the ground, which is good. It means we've got to start to our growing season, and stick with me and let's see what grows, what doesn't grow, what other interesting things we're going to find in the garden, and I will look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Love and lettuce, and bye for now. Oh, and if you got some value out of this video, please subscribe to my fledgling channel. The more the merrier, as we tidy up the garden and move into spring and summer of 2024. Yeah, chicken. Who else is coming? Got any eggs today? Anyone else coming out? Oh, we have an egg. Oh, that's nice. Thank you for the egg, berries. You coming? Come on then. Is anyone else coming? Are you coming out here too? Come on. Let's go. No, I thought we were going out. Off we go. Come on. You coming out? Oh, who else is coming out? Come on. No, you don't want to come out. Off we go. Come on. What's going on? Come on. Hey, where should we go out? Oh, off we go. Typical chickens. Thought you wanted out. No? Oh, what was all that squawking about? 2 in and 2 out? 3 in and 1 out. What you doing? Coming or going?